The following paid content is sponsored by Rooted Wealth Advisors. Saving for retirement is a great start, but it's what you do with this money that really matters. What's your plan to reduce your taxes, generate income, minimize your investment risk, and pay for the skyrocketing cost of healthcare? Welcome to Rooted in Retirement with Zach Gray of Rooted Wealth Advisors, who's been featured in Forbes and Kiplinger, and he's a published author. This is where you can count on straightforward and objective advice about how you can make the most out of every dollar you've saved for retirement.
Hello, I'm Kelly Dame, and I'm delighted to have you with us on Rooted in Retirement today. In this episode, we'll be delving deep into the challenges that may pose a risk to your retirement savings and the proactive measures you can take to fortify and potentially expand your nest egg. Joining us for this insightful conversation is Zach Gray, the visionary founder behind Rooted Wealth Advisors. Zach's expertise has earned him recognition in esteemed publications like Forbes and Kiplinger, and he's also the author of the acclaimed book, Deep Roots. Zach, it is truly a pleasure to have you with us here today.
It's great to be here with you today, Kelly.
Now, the first thing that I want to talk about today, and a big challenge in the world that we live in, is this. My dollar does not go as far as it used to. How big of a problem is this?
Well, inflation is definitely something that's been dominating the headlines over the last few years even. And Kelly, you, along with the majority of Americans, you're really feeling it in the wallet right now. You know, I was just taking my family grocery shopping. This was a few weekends ago. It was right after church. And so we corralled all 4 kids and we head into the grocery store. And by the time that we get out of there, well, Kelly, for me, I'm about at wit's end. You know, you've got 4 kids running around and we're trying to corral everything. And I tell you what, I'm already a little bit just kind of wound tight. And by the time we got to checkout and I was hearing that final bill, I was wound even tighter. And it's because of the bill. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, I jokingly tell folks sometimes, I thought maybe it was the gal behind me and I got some of her groceries thrown in with my bill. Not the case. And of course, as you look at what these rising costs have done, you know, in 2022 alone, specific to groceries, let's say, Kelly, we're in a position that it's gone up 10%, 9.9% in 2022 alone. And then, of course, we've done a lot of work to raise some interest rates, you know, try to cool inflation, if you will. But here we are again, 2023 comes around, and yet about another half a dozen points in terms of inflation. So once again, growing at a very rapid rate. And of course, inflation that is affecting certain sectors maybe more than others, but groceries, Kelly, this is something that we have to have, right? This is something that is going to be something that we're going to have to pay for year in, year out. And so I think it's important for us to take a look at really even other sectors as well. You know, another story that comes to mind, I was getting brakes done on my vehicle. You know, obviously something that's routine, you've got to do it. And when I looked at the cost there, I was blown away. You know, I'm not much of a gearhead, if you will, but I can tell you that motor vehicles and the parts that go along with, that increase in that window of time I was just speaking of, it's an increase of 25.6%. Furniture and home furnishings, another 25.8%. And so I'll stop picking on these different sectors, but I think you can understand how this is affecting people, especially those on fixed incomes. And at Rooted Wealth Advisors, I, along with our fiduciary advisor team, you know, we truly believe that you should have someone working as hard for you and your hard-earned money as what you've done to grow that over those years. And you know, that's important because as you start to think about legacy and the way that you want to be remembered, it's important to have that plan put together so that we know that we won't be running out of money before we run out of life. We want to make sure our money's going to stretch. And with inflation, the way that we've seen it, I tell you what, it's harder to stretch that money. Now, one thing that comes to mind here is that, you know, really everyone is telling you that it's all about growth of your portfolio. And while I will say that growth is extremely important, Kelly, I will tell you that it's not the sole focus that we should have in our retirement years. I'm telling you that it's more about cash flow. Where are we going to get that money that we need to pay the bills, do all the things that we need to do? And I do think that it's incredibly important to kind of shift that paradigm, especially in our retirement years. Because once again, yes, it is important to have growth. And if you think about all of those years leading up to retirement, you can have kind of this jagged, kind of step up in terms of value of your accounts. It can kind of be a rocky ride on its way up, but you know what? You don't necessarily need the money at that point. It's when you're going back maybe down the mountain that things become critically important to understand. And I will say that that's extremely important to me. It's really one of the reasons I got involved in this business, because I was in college right around the turn of the century, just after. And wouldn't you know it, that was when the tech burst occurred. And all of a sudden, we saw the markets fall at a drastic rate. Now, in our business, we call that sequence of return risk. And we'll talk about that maybe a little bit more in the show today. But it's extremely important to understand where you're going to get that cash flow, let alone, Kelly, when you're seeing inflation that's running at such high rates. So incredibly important to understand as you're putting that income plan together.
And you are so right. It is everywhere you look. It can get a little overwhelming at times. And I knew that inflation was serious, but I was thinking about the here and now. I wasn't even thinking about retirement. So is there anything that myself and viewers can do to really protect ourselves from this moving forward?
Well, Kelly, the impact of inflation can really be overwhelming for those that are in retirement, most definitely, or those that are approaching retirement as they start to think through, am I going to have enough? However, I think it's really critical that we look at all aspects of someone's financial plan. I mean, this is not the sole issue that we have to deal with here today. It's not just inflation. That's not the only challenge on your financial horizon. Currently safeguarding and enhancing your retirement savings is surrounded by all kinds of risks. And here's an often overlooked aspect. I think that one of the most efficient ways to secure and to bolster your retirement savings is by strategically reducing your tax burden during your retirement years. Consider this hidden gem. The less that you contribute to the IRS, well, frankly, the more that you can put in your own pocket or your family's pocket for your well-being or theirs throughout your retirement, and maybe even on past that point. And by implementing some straightforward tax planning strategies today, you can potentially unlock substantial savings. We're talking potentially tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we believe in this so much that we want to show you how serious we are by offering our viewers a free, custom-tailored tax reduction report.
Zach, that sounds great, but can you explain exactly how all of that works for us?
Most definitely. First we're just going to gather some really basic information from you. And then my team of fiduciary advisors, we're going to go back to work and we're going to see which tax saving strategies could work best for you and your unique situation. And after that, well, we're going to go ahead and have a chat with you and show you exactly how much money you can save.
Oh, that's fantastic, Zach. So here's your chance to find out how much you can save on taxes during your retirement. We're offering a free personalized tax reduction report just for you. Whether you've saved $500,000, $2 million, or $10 million or more for your retirement, don't miss out on this opportunity. Schedule your free analysis today by calling Rooted Wealth Advisors at 855-955-6868. Remember, there's no cost or obligation, but please be aware that this window of opportunity is rapidly closing before tax rates rise again. Once more, that number to reach them is 855-955-6868. Don't hesitate to dial it now. Are you worried about the roller coaster ride of the stock market and how it might affect your investments? Stay tuned, because when we return, we'll dive into why it's an even more significant concern than many folks realize.
You're watching Rooted in Retirement with Zach Gray of Rooted Wealth Advisors. This is where you can count on straightforward and objective advice about the toughest challenges with retiring today. like reducing your taxes, generating income, minimizing risk, and paying for the skyrocketing cost of healthcare. Now back to Rooted in Retirement.
Welcome back. I'm Kelly Dame, and you're watching Rooted in Retirement. In today's episode, we're looking at the unique set of challenges that are on today's financial landscape and uncovering some hidden gems to help you along the way. Joining us for this crucial discussion is Zach Gray, the visionary founder behind Rooted Wealth Advisors. Zach's expertise has earned him recognition in notable publications such as Forbes and Kiplinger, and he's the accomplished author of Deep Roots, laying the groundwork for your retirement. Zach, we truly appreciate you being here today. Now let's explore another unique challenge. We want to look at what exactly is this next big concern.
Well, you know what, Kelly? In nearly 2 decades of sitting down with folks and looking at their financial landscapes, one of the most common concerns that I hear time and time again, it's this roller coaster ride that is the stock market. And what I would say here is that the market is going to do what the market's going to do. And I really think it's important for folks to understand, especially getting near those retirement years, Kelly, on what type of risk they're taking in their portfolio. You know, we tend to think of these time frames of maybe the tech burst of the early 2000s, or many of us remember the 2008 crisis very well. And we say to ourselves, well, it's a good thing. I stayed the course and, hey, I'm in a better spot today. And even as we start to think about volatility that we've recently seen, like the COVID concerns that we had in 2000, and then of course the last few years even have been very volatile for the stock market. What I would say about that is that those feelings start to change a little bit as you make your way into retirement. And I say that because it's really near and dear to me. You know, I think about my grandmother. You know, my Granny Joyce, she retired right around the turn of the century. Actually, my grandfather on the other side of my family did as well. And so my grandparents, which I love very much, they retire around that turn of the century, and all of a sudden the stock market is just clobbered with that tech burst of the early 2000s. And so, you know, that really laid heavy on me as I was finishing up my schooling and my education and finance degrees. And I just really felt this need to get involved in the industry because I think too many times we just don't take a look at maybe how much risk are we taking and is it really applicable for us at certain points? And so this list could really go on and on here as we start to think about some of the concerns that we have with the market today. Of course, things have gotten substantially more volatile here in the most recent past, and that could have to do with things like maybe still dealing with some COVID concerns, thinking about supply chain issues that might be coming from COVID still yet at this point. We've already talked a little bit in today's show, Kelly, about inflation, and you start to think about, I don't know, Russia and Ukraine. You know, we still have that situation going on overseas. More recently, we have concerns in Israel. So there's a lot that's going on. And Kelly, these events they're not in the so distant past. You know, these can definitely create some sudden impacts for the market.
You know, you talked about your grandparents, and it makes me think about advice mine gave me as well of don't worry about the things you can't control. But on the flip side of that as well, Zach, we should be thinking about the things that we can control.
Yeah, most definitely. And I'm actually, you know, really passionate about this because I believe that you need to have a plan for this volatility. Frankly, you deserve to have a plan for this volatility, and that's extremely, extremely important. You know, I'm actually reminded from a client of ours, it's actually down in Florida. We've got clients really throughout the entire country. Of course, we have offices in multiple states, but he was sharing with me this hurricane that actually just recently hit them. This was probably 18 months ago or so. And, you know, it made me think of my childhood because every spring, Kelly, we would be in this situation where, of course, things would get a little bit wild in terms of some of the storms and such, and my mom's anxiety would start to rise because she would hear about, oh, there's a tornado warning for today. And I remember at least one time where we hunkered down in the basement, and I remember actually coming, you know, out of that storm, you know, going outside. And I tell you, you know, the outbuildings at the little farm that we grew up at, they were beat up some. There was a television antenna, which some of our young viewers probably won't even know what that is. You know, it had fallen over, but it came upon us just so quickly. And as I was chatting with that client, down in Florida, he shared with me, oh, Zach, we're going to have our hurricane. We've got to really be making some plans for this. And, my mind drifted back to my childhood. I thought, oh my goodness, you better get packed up. You better get moving. He goes, no. We've got a solid week or two before this is going to happen. And I thought to myself, oh, well, that's quite different. You have time to prepare. He says, oh yeah, Zach, don't worry. We're getting everything boarded up. We're going to take care of things. And actually, we're going to go join some family. It'll be a great little getaway for us. And I thought to myself, well, that's substantially different than what I remember, hunkering down in the basement. There's time to plan and to prepare when you see that hurricane coming in. And I love that analogy because right now, I'm not saying that there's a hurricane necessarily on the horizon, but I will tell you that some of those things, Kelly, that I threw out earlier, well, they're critically important to be thinking about right now. Thinking about things like, once again, global events, politics, even on a global scale, and of course, right here back in the US of A. And then, of course, all those little items that I mentioned earlier. And of course, once again, we're coming out of a 2022 that had all major indexes in bear market territory, even alongside the bond market index, a 2023 that's been extremely volatile as we look in the rear view as well. And so as we start to look out the windshield, if you will, on what's coming next, making sure that we're prepared, Kelly, it's just critically important.
There's time, but you don't want to delay. So Zach, what I've heard you say is that the markets are going to go up and they're going to go down, but there's got to be a way to protect ourselves from the challenges and volatility that come with the market, right?
Well, Kelly, do you have a crystal ball by chance?
No, I don't.
Well, I tell you what, neither do I. If I do have one, it's broken. Maybe it's laying around in the attic somewhere. The point here is no one does know what the market's going to do. You're right. The market is going to go up. The market is going to go down. Now, making sure that you have a well-structured, well-diversified portfolio, that's incredibly important. Now, I know that everyone's ability to stomach this roller coaster ride, it's different. People invest in the stock market for different reasons, but really the main reason is growth. And most folks don't think about things in this way, but here's another hidden gem for today's show. The quickest and easiest way to grow your retirement nest egg right now, it might be simply by reducing the amount of taxes that you pay in retirement. Well, how is that possible? Well, let's just face it. The less money that you have to pay Uncle Sam, well, the more that you're going to be able to keep in your own pocket for your family or your own needs. And it simply makes to have a better financial picture and keep your nest egg that much bigger. It's truly what we believe. And we want to show you how serious we are by offering our viewers today a free, custom-tailored tax reduction report.
So can you, Zach, walk us through what that looks like?
Of course. First, we're going to gather some essential information from you. And then we're going to identify which tax-saving strategies are going to work best for you in your unique situation. And after that, well, my team of fiduciary advisors, we're going to sit down with you, we're going to have a chat with you, and we're going to show you exactly how to implement some of those strategies and how much money you can save. I mean, this could be a potential of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So whether you've saved $500,000, $2 million, even over $10 million for retirement, you don't want to miss out on this opportunity that could greatly benefit you.
Well, here's your chance to find out how much you can save on taxes during your retirement. We're offering a free personalized tax reduction report just for you. Remember, there's no cost or obligation, but please be aware that this window of opportunity is rapidly closing before tax rates rise again. Once more, the number to reach Rooted Wealth Advisors is 855-955-6868. Give them a call. Stay tuned for what's up next. The unchecked surge in government spending might signal the potential for higher taxes on the horizon, and we'll be diving into this topic as soon as we return.
You're watching Rooted in Retirement with Zach Gray of Rooted Wealth Advisors. This is where you can count on straightforward and objective advice about the toughest challenges with retiring today, like reducing your taxes, generating income, minimizing risk, and paying for the skyrocketing cost of healthcare. Now back to Rooted in Retirement.
Welcome back. I'm Kelly Dame, and you're watching Rooted in Retirement. Today, we're looking at the unique set of challenges that are on today's financial landscape and uncovering some hidden gems to help you along the way. Zach Gray, the founder of Rooted Wealth Advisors, is here to help us navigate these challenges. Zach, what is the last big concern facing those in and near retirement today?
Well, that big concern, Kelly, it is everyone's favorite topic, taxes. And let me ask you this, Kelly. Do you think taxes are going to be going up in the future or down?
I'm going to say they're going to go up in the future.
Yeah, I wish they would be going down, but I just don't see how it can happen. You know, we've got debt that's rapidly growing, and of course, interest rates have been going up, which only kind of steamrolls that even faster. Let me ask you this follow-up question then. You know, are you the type of person that likes to keep their hard-earned money, or would you just maybe rather pay more in tax than you need to?
I want to keep it, for sure.
Well, it's you and me, and I'd say every single client of Rooted Wealth Advisors. I'd even venture to guess most of the viewers of our show today. And it brings me to this idea, or this question even, of are you looking at taxes from a preparation mindset or a planning mindset? There's a big discrepancy there between the two, because I think most of the time we look at this where we gather up the W-2 or our 1099s and we toss it all together, we bring it to our accountant or our CPA, and we're there to prepare our taxes. I would really challenge folks to be really thinking about planning. And as you start to think about planning, most of that needs to maybe get done by the end of a calendar year. And maybe even thoughts about Roth conversions, getting money shifted around in our portfolios, especially if we think taxes might be going up in the future. And I say that because as I think about kind of these three categories, if you will, of money, or sometimes I call it these three buckets of money. You have what I call a taxable bucket. And hey, that's money like a bank account. You put money in there. If it grows, you pay a little tax, get a 1099 maybe on that growth. Tax deferred money. That's something like maybe a 401k or traditional IRA. You put money in there, good news, you get a tax deduction when you put it in. It grows with no taxes, but when you take it out, Kelly, you have to pay ordinary income. And not only on the money you put in, but of course on all the growth as well. Now, the last bucket I consider to be tax advantaged, or some would call it tax-free. You put money in there, it grows with no tax. It could come out with no tax. It could even maybe go to beneficiaries with no tax. And that would be something maybe like a Roth 401k, Roth IRA, or some properly structured life insurance. And as you think about those three categories, Kelly, if I said those are our three options, oh, and by the way, I think taxes are going up as well, where would you want your money to sit? Taxable, tax deferred, or tax advantaged?
For sure, tax-free.
Most definitely, especially if you think taxes are going to go up in the future, there's no doubt. And I agree with you. So there's a lot of ideas that run through my mind with that, one of which we deem in our office an SRT. What could we be doing for a strategic Roth transfer? A conversion, if you will, of tax-deferred money. Let's get it over there to something that's more tax-advantaged before tax rates go up. And oh, by the way, that just reminds me that, hey, that Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that we enacted in 2017, Kelly, it's coming to an end at the end of 2025. So in 2026, we're going to at least revert back to what we had prior, and no doubt we're going to be escalating taxes. And not only are we escalating the rate, you also have to think about the fact that those thresholds, of which you would maybe break a 12% bracket and go to 22 or 22 to 24, they're also going to be suppressed if we make no changes in Washington. And so, for example, what was a 25% tax bracket is currently 22. And that bracket used to break at about 130,000 or so. Kelly, today, 24% tax bracket breaks at about 365 or so. And my point here is that, well, Kelly, let me ask you, is 24% a little less than 25?
Yeah.
And by the way, is 360 plus, is that a little bit more than 130?
Yep.
No doubt. So I really think that we need to be strategic here about how can we get more tax advantaged.
So we know that if Congress does nothing, that taxes will be going up. So what can we do about it?
Kelly, we talk about this in all of our offices. It's crucial to recognize that in retirement, it's not about how much money you make, maybe not even about how much you have. It's how much you actually get to keep. And staying in front of taxes and paying what you can while these taxes are what we see on sale is certainly a step in the right direction. Consider this hidden gem. The less that you contribute to the IRS, well, the more you can allocate towards your own or your family's well-being in retirement and even on beyond those years. And by implementing straightforward tax planning strategies today, you can potentially unlock substantial savings. I mean, we're talking about tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, Kelly, for folks that have called into the show and had us run this analysis for them. We believe in this so much that we want to show you how serious we are by offering our viewers a custom-tailored retirement tax reduction report.
Zach, that sounds great, but can you explain how that works for us?
Of course. First, we're just going to gather some really essential information from you. And then we're going to identify what tax saving strategies could work best for you in your unique situation. Because everyone's situation, Kelly, is 100% different. It's different than your coworker. It's different than your neighbor. And after that, we're going to sit down for a quick visit and we're going to show you exactly how much money you might save. And Kelly, some strategies that could very well make a lot of sense for your retirement picture moving forward.
Okay, that's fantastic, Zach. So here is your chance to find out how much you can save on taxes during your retirement. We're offering a free personalized tax reduction report just for you. Whether you saved $500,000, $2 million, or $10 million or more for your retirement, don't miss out on this opportunity. Schedule your free analysis today by giving them a call at 855-955-6868. Remember, there's no cost or obligation, but please be aware that this window of opportunity is rapidly closing before tax rates rise again. Once more, the number to reach the team at Rooted is 855-955-6868. Don't hesitate to dial it now and pick up the phone. That is all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us for Rooted in Retirement with Zach Gray. We'll be sure to see you next time.
The previous paid content was sponsored by Rooted Wealth Advisors.